Happy Monday, guys. Hopefully you had a good weekend. We do have a couple events coming up. I'm going to look over Bitcoin. We're going to talk about Cleanspark. They do have earnings this week, and we'll get into a couple other things as well. Now, I don't say this a lot, but if you guys get something useful out of this video, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. It definitely helps me out. If you're interested, there are some links down below for some free stocks. Now, we do have an announcement on Cleanspark's earnings. This is going to be on Thursday, August 7th. This is this week, and coming in after the bell. And keep an eye on their news section of their investor relations tab. You can just type in IRCLSK on Google and pull it right up. They're gonna drop their Bitcoin mining update anytime. Their June one came out on July 7. Typically their Bitcoin mining updates come out either on the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, sometimes a little later. We should be getting it within a couple days. It could even be today, so keep an eye out. Now, the Bitcoin miners are doing pretty good. Bitcoin is up a little bit, almost flat. They did have a rough week last week. We saw a lot of selling off, which opened up a gap for Cleanspark to the upside. We did also fail the 50 MA, but we seem to be finding support here at the 200 MA, and we did recently have our golden cross at the end of July. A lot of Bitcoin miners lately have been posting golden crosses because of their recent recoveries over the last couple weeks, couple months, and we are starting to see these golden crosses left and right. I do think Cleanspark is going to fill out this megaphone pattern. We are near its support. Maybe the 200 MA is enough. Maybe we need to pull back a little bit towards the psychological 10 to get a good bounce and then run. We do have a eensy weensy gap that was almost filled right here. We didn't fill it. We basically bounced right at it. Maybe we go on to fill this on another red day this week, possibly. But speaking of Cleanspark's earnings, they should be seeing a profit. Mara posted a surprise profit. They were expected to be a loss. They missed their revenue, however. As for Cleanspark, they were expecting a profitable quarter after last quarter was unprofitable. The quarter before that was profitable. 2 quarters before that were unprofitable. But you know, these Bitcoin miners throughout this cycle have been flipping in between profitability and unprofitability. A lot of it depending on Bitcoin's unrealized price throughout the quarter. Does it lose throughout the quarter or gain price throughout the quarter? Well, Q2 was a very good quarter for Bitcoin. Q1 wasn't that great. Q3, which is the quarter we're currently in, so far is looking good. But I do personally expect to see a profit from Cleanspark, back to profitability, hopefully into the next quarter as well. So far so good with Bitcoin. We still have to get through August and September, but July was pretty good for Bitcoin overall. They're also expecting a record revenue. We're talking about almost 100% revenue, almost a double from where they were a year ago when they were making around 100 million in revenue. They're nearly at 200 million in revenue, but the big thing is profitability. Can they stay profitable? Instead of burning cash, can they keep building their cash balance, building up their Bitcoin balance, and not burning that cash and diluting? That is the big question. And as for dilution, if you didn't know this, Cleanspark hasn't diluted since November of 2024. It has almost been a year of no dilution. I do expect that the Bitcoin miners are going to finish this year well with a couple of profitable quarters. Be ready to take profits. Don't hold on to everything. Trim along the way. Sell covered calls against your position for some easy premium, especially when it starts running up. But I am feeling pretty good about the Bitcoin miners. They should be posting a profitable quarter. Now, I also want to turn your attention to Bitcoin. And we do have an article to look over in a minute talking about 5 reasons that the bull run is going to continue and that we are going to get a run back to all-time highs. But I want to mention this, I don't want to pat myself on the back too hard, but we did say that once we break 116, 115, we're going to fill this big candle and test either the 50 MA or possibly test this 111, 112. And sure enough, we did just that. Now it's up to Bitcoin to reclaim this 116,000. If it can do that, we are going to test this 120 and then possibly the all-time high of about 123,000. But before we look over this Bitcoin thing and 5 reasons to be bullish, 5 reasons that it's going to run, we do have some news from MicroStrategy. On July 29, they mentioned that they raised 2.5 billion through an IPO. And with this, they bought 21,000 Bitcoin. And the ticker symbol on this is STRC. And they've been doing this. There was Strife, there was Strike. They keep doing these IPOs and these offerings to acquire more Bitcoin. So far, it's working. There may be a point where it doesn't work as well. Of course, when Bitcoin's in a downtrend, this won't be the move necessarily. But while Bitcoin's in a bull market, by all means, MicroStrategy, keep acquiring more Bitcoin. You're kicking ass. And look at their Bitcoin holdings. I mean, they're sitting at 628,000 Bitcoin. They nearly have 1 million Bitcoin. They will get there in a matter of time. And it'll be faster than we may realize. They are going to have 121st basically, 1/20th damn near, of Bitcoin's total supply. And that will be locked away. They will hold it probably as long as they can. Forever. I do want to mention MicroStrategy on the chart. We tend to test the 200 MA. We have done this multiple times throughout the cycle. on these massive pullbacks, we tend to hold up right around the 200 MA. We got close to it about, 20 to 30 dollars away from the 200 MA, but it seems like we're recovering now and working on filling our gap. We broke the 50 MA. If we can keep going down, if we can get to that 200 MA, I think that would be a great swing entry. It tends to always play out that way when you test the 200 MA, especially when you're oversold, which we were near oversold. This tends to be a great buying opportunity for a short-term swing trade, so keep an eye on MicroStrategy. If we happen to get a red day for Bitcoin, a little bit of a pullback, this might be a good entry for a swing, maybe from the 200 MA back to the 50 MA if we can test the 200 MA. But MicroStrategy absolutely blew their earnings out of the water. They beat their EPS by 33,000%. That is just insane. Expected to be a loss, and they reported a $32 EPS and came in very close to in line with their revenue estimates. A lot of this is due to Bitcoin's unrealized gain throughout the quarter, which we should see again. And let me show you, this was Q2. Look at how good this quarter was on an unrealized gain perspective compared to Q1, which ended up losing throughout the quarter. This was a bad quarter for the Bitcoin miners, and they did sure enough pull back on unprofitability. Here we are with profitability. The Bitcoin miners are just starting to report. Mara already reported a profit. Cleanspark, in my opinion, is on its way to report a profit. BTBT, I believe, is reporting as well very soon. Basically, all the Bitcoin miners are reporting in August that didn't report yet. Speaking of the quarters, Q3 is already looking good for Bitcoin too. We started this quarter at about 108, and despite this pullback, we are still at a gain from this quarter. So as long as we can continue trending up throughout August and September, they will see another unrealized gain. That makes two in a row, two profitable quarters in a row for pretty much all the Bitcoin miners. I don't see why they wouldn't run. Now I do want to finish it up with this article, 5 signs Bitcoin's bull run is about to return. And one of those signs was that fair value gap that we talked about that was filled. The previous all-time high from May is now acting as a support zone after we filled our fair value gap there. We also have the power of 3 pattern. Accumulation, manipulation, distribution. Accumulation, price stabilized between 119 and 115, showing a base building phase. See this accumulation phase. Then you get the manipulation phase, a sharp drop, bottoming out at 112,000. A shape out to trap longs, and force retail capitulation. Oh no, is the cycle over? It's over, sell everything. Then distribution. If Bitcoin firmly reclaims 115,000 on both low and high time frames, the stage could be set for distribution leg towards 126,000, which aligns with recent resistance clusters. We also had massive liquidations on August 1, the highest since February of 2025, with over $240 million tied to Bitcoin futures. And this leverage unwinding is historically bullish. It reduces excess risk and gives more room for longs to enter. Also, interestingly, Amr Taha, a crypto analyst, notes that funding rates across major platforms have turned negative, which is an uncommon occurrence during strong trend phases. Negative funding implies the shorts pay longs to keep positions open, indicating that retail traders are heavily biased towards future downsides, interestingly. When paired with recent liquidations, this imbalance hints at potential contrarian strength. When there's usually a lot of calls, the market goes the other way. When there's usually a lot of puts, the market goes the other way. The market wants to absorb all of that capital, and that is one reason why I love selling covered calls and cash secured puts rather than buying them. Also, this is an interesting one. Binance net taker volume. CryptoQuant indicates that Binance's cumulative net taker volume dropped below 1.5 billion negative, a level last seen on July 25. This metric measures the net flow of market orders, with strong negative readings indicating aggressive sell-side pressure. This sharp drop reflects the forced liquidation of longs, particularly those that entered during the rebound above 114,000. We have concentrated losses in that zone, and this aligns with retail investors. Amr Taha again, saying that this aligns with retail investors tending to buy tops and sell bottoms, driven by emotion, not strategy. And finally, we have 120,000 that should act as a price magnet. Michael Vanderpulp says Bitcoin's at a crucial resistance zone. Breaking above it is a good first step towards a new all-time high. And he highlights that 114.8, 116,008 are key levels to flip. A brief retest of 110,000 is possible. And if we can clear this, 120,000 is on the way in the coming weeks. But everything I go over will be down below for you in the description. Make sure you check it out if you care to read up on it yourself. Let me know how you guys are feeling about the Bitcoin miners. Are you expecting good earnings from Cleanspark, good earnings from the whole crew of Bitcoin miners? Are you preparing to take profits? Are you selling calls against your positions to gain some quick premium and protect from some downside or sideways action? Also, how do you feel about MicroStrategy continuing to accumulate all of the Bitcoin, making it harder for us everyday folks to buy cheap Bitcoin? That last bear market was the last bear market that retail could reasonably accumulate a Bitcoin. Bitcoin went down to 15,000. In this next bear market, who knows where Bitcoin can bottom out at? Maybe it's the previous cycle top of 68, 69,000. But it is getting harder and harder for retail to ever accumulate one whole Bitcoin. I believe this last cycle, this last bear market was the last opportunity for many to do it, besides the wealthy that can acquire whatever Bitcoin they want. But you know, it's kind of sad because this is the direction things are going. Bitcoin is going to get more and more and more harder to accumulate one whole Bitcoin as time goes on. How does that make you feel? Does that make you glad or sad? I think it's very bittersweet. Like, it's wonderful that Bitcoin's going up in price, but it sucks that we will never be able to just continue to acquire another Bitcoin, another Bitcoin, another Bitcoin as the cycles move on and as Bitcoin gets more and more out of reach for a retail investor to ever acquire one. But anyways, my ramble is over. Thanks as always for watching, guys. I appreciate you. Hopefully you had a good weekend, and I will see you tomorrow.